Live tonight on American Zombie. Here we are together again on the radio. Like say what's up to everybody. D4, is it cool if I hop on? Yeah, man. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. Just yeah, hop on. We don't have profanity, so we certain things we stay within the parameters. Always stay within the parameters. But certain topics, yeah. We just, no cursing, no N-word, clean conversation. I think it provides for a better learning experience. That when we don't curse or we don't say certain words, slangs, that it can reach a larger audience. Therefore, have the ability to find more people who are still thinking for themselves, more survivors, basically. But yeah, if you want to hop on, yeah, definitely, man. Got the link pinned to the top of the chat. GB, man, what's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Definitely, you know what's up, man. Who or what really runs the world? I was gonna put, Scribe was like you should put who or what runs the world, but I don't know. Maybe it might have been a better title, but what runs the world? And of course, with a picture of something that could be interpreted as something vampire, demonics, shadow world type of, just to kind of get the mind turning and thinking. Now we know that some people will automatically shut down. They will go into atheist mode or into a mode where you have to prove something to them. And there are certain things that logically you can say, let me think about it and figure out that it's very likely for that thing to happen or exist. And you don't need to find something like specifically physical, or you probably won't find something physical. With the spiritual or the conscious or the non-corporeal part of life, that's something that it's a touchy subject. It's a touchy subject. Could things be there that we don't see that's controlling stuff? When we look at the parasitic world and how it controls certain animals, insects. I mean, this is showing us examples. It's giving us a model to look at how something could control the mind of of an organism without other organisms within its group knowing. I mean, we see it with the cordyceps. I think it's a type of fungus that infects ant colonies, and it infects them to the point where, yeah, it's crazy, man. D4 says the new Epstein files dropped and the content is horrifying. Beyond sick, this world is sicker. Yeah, it's definitely some sick stuff, bro. The stuff that is going on, and that's another thing too. It's like I mean, I don't know if necessarily it's what somebody would call, I guess, maybe the devil or something. um I would think that it's forces that aren't for the benefit of us or humans. And then it begs to ask the question, what are humans? What are they different? Are they are there some that aren't humans that look like humans? And when I say the things can be looked at in different ways, you look at the chickens on a farm. If the chickens are saying that they're just being, like oppressed and stuff, that's one part. But there's a reason behind that. Food. They're used as food. Now the ones that are packed into factory farms and just tortured and all of that, yeah, that's messed up, because the person isn't just growing it for food, they're growing it for profit. And then you start getting to the Frankenstein area of factory farming and stuff. But as far as regular farming, I mean, you look at it like it's actually necessary to know when you think about it. This, of course, is something that should be taught to the young. You know, well, when you think, why are all the people at the top corrupt? It's not even just at the top. What do they say? It's like, if you just do a test and talk with people in certain areas of their profession that deals with law enforcement, or even just basic stuff like people who are stenographers in courthouses, uh, bailiffs, even people that just work the desk. You can get a lot of information on how corruption is at the base and goes all the way up to the top, or it started at the top, and it makes sure people are corrupt because a corrupt person can be controlled. A corrupt person is somebody that is going to do something against the active law that they are holding other people to obey. And we see that when we see people in the law enforcement and politics and all of that who get busted for corruption. We start to be like, wow. And the crazy thing is they get less time. So, I mean, wouldn't that type of a system that we see, and it's open in the face, but it's not on the books. So they'll say, oh, no, we don't, they punish people that do evil things or bad things or things that are things that jeopardize the safety and well-being of other people. But when you see the results of the punishments to the people in law enforcement that do get caught for these things, you see that that's not true most of the time. The majority see people get less time and sentences. And we also see certain people that do crimes that don't get in trouble. For the same crime, somebody else might go away for a very long time. We see innocent people. So the corruption allows you to control. If somebody was good, right, they wouldn't obey a bad order. So if they're saying, okay, go and capture this person, and they're like, why? What has this person really done? Once they start like that, it's like, no, you either got to be able to control them through corruption, or you got to control them through the paycheck. The paycheck corrupts too. It's like when you look at the fact that people get released from certain jobs unjustly because they spoke out against horrible conditions or what was going on, it shows you how corruption is just embedded, how in certain situations it wouldn't be able to things wouldn't be able to run the way they run. Basically, ritualized acts are now confirmed. Oh man, I mean, I look at it, in my opinion, and a lot of this stuff that people put out there is opinionated. But like I said before, there are ways to be able to think about a situation and come to logical conclusions that avoid logical fallacies, that give you a mental look to say, okay, if it's not this or this, at least I'm getting close to it because I'm eliminating what it's not. It's like the carvings with Michelangelo, where he said that no, the carving of David was already in the marble. All he did was remove the parts that wasn't it. So it's already there. It's just what you have to take away from it to reveal it. And this is, ways to look at things that we say, hey, okay, I'm seeing how not knowing what something is not, removing the part, stuff like that, it actually can give me a better look at something I thought was something else. Like saying, okay, I thought that the Constitution and stuff like that was meant to make us free. But now when you look at it, you say, oh no, the paper itself is not going to make you free. It's not a get well card doesn't make you better. You have to do what it says. And anybody that imposes upon that, you have to take action. That's basically what it's saying. Like the Second Amendment, what's going on with a lot of stuff. Everybody knows that it's to protect people against tyranny in the government, to protect themselves, basically. That's what it's for. But when it comes down to defending the Second Amendment, that's where you see different stuff, going on. It's something that if somebody really looks through the laws, like when we were speaking yesterday, something like, let's look at the Monroe Doctrine, right? That is something that basically changed over over the centuries, actually. And now you have where it basically says that the U.S. It was first pushed for no more European countries to colonize over in the Americas. And now saying basically that the US has the reign over Latin America loosely. Like anybody can type in and research and try to find it. And it does come to that. And this is why you see the things happening in all throughout Central and South America. It's crazy how political it's become with speaking about it, because it should be able to be spoken about without having any type of recourse where censorship comes into play. Yeah, when I think about that, who runs the world, or really what runs the world? What is behind the scene? What can people, when we look at people, anger seems to have some way to either open a door or do something that gives a person the impression that they're possessed. Like you see some people go into a fit of anger, a rage of anger. We see it on some of these, well, on many of these videos. We see the anger issue pop up many times. People flipping out in fast food places, in other stores too, convenience stores, parking lots. And it makes you wonder, like, what is going on? Is there something in the water? Or Dr. Russell Blaylock, when the guy that wrote Excitotoxins, is trying to, in some loosely translation, I'm saying that I remember a video he was saying that more people with a lower IQ or a lower understanding, a lower ability to learn is being produced, and less high IQ. Now, IQ we know doesn't determine pure intelligence. Like there's many different types of intelligence. A person that can farm is going to be smarter than a person who's academically smart, but academically smart in something that like can't feed you. You know, if you understand tax law 100%, but don't know how to grow food, who's really the smarter person? You can have a higher IQ, but the other guy's, he's more practically smart. The whole concept of that is kind of reversed in modern world, telling us that no, the smart ones are the ones that actually don't do anything. They actually, you know, and that's how you get, again, to control people in a certain way. Yeah, the exorcist type of thing, man. Cope approach, good to see you, man. Yes, definitely. We see some people get into those rages. And then it's kind of like that part in the Lord of the Rings where he wants to take the ring from Frodo, and then he tells him, you know, forgive him. A madness had overtaken him. And of course, Frodo stays hiding, but it shows that even in, like, you know, of course it's a movie, but in the writings, it's shown like how people have this understanding that something can overtake them. A madness had overtaken him. So it's as if when we're thinking, I think a lot of people don't realize how many different things we could possibly be. So, you know, yeah, you think about it, it's like when we think of a thought and we observe the thought, we know that the person or the being that's observing the thought is something different from the thought itself. And like we can have two opposing thoughts and think about them, say, okay, well, if I do it this way, or I can do it that way, like different options rather that we can contemplate. And also there's other parts like that intuition to say, yeah, you know, I was thinking about this, but I was getting this feeling about something else, you know. So now we got thoughts and with the thinking part, and then we also have the feeling thinking type or the feeling knowledge. It's like, I felt it. And it's like, what do you mean you felt it? It's like, well, I can't explain it because I felt it. It's like love. When somebody tells you, can you define love? Now you can't really prove it, but the real answer is to be like, look, what is love? Like, can you explain what love is? It's like, hey, You don't explain what love is. You feel it. That's it. You feel it. So to feel it, you have to feel it. There is no explanation of what it feels like. It's again, it's like a kind of a matrix thing. It's like you have to experience it. That's what I can't tell you what it is. I can't prove it to you. But when you experience it, then you'll be like, oh, okay, now I can comprehend it more. So there are certain things that really, the communication is so important because two people can have, or many people can have disagreements, and you realize it's not really that they disagree with each other. Sometimes it's that it's a failure of communication to properly try to look for uh, solutions, really. Yeah, you'll know when you feel it, man. It definitely, St. Lauder, what's up, Retro? I don't know what you mean by that, Retro. St. Lauder, you know. And I would say many things do exist in the non-corporeal world. Like we're taught to look at mostly the physical and to think of something as, you look at a radio wave and how radio waves work with metal, copper wires, the electromagnetic generation of spinning a motor and stuff like that. The fact that planes fly in the air with jet engines powering them, balloons. You have helicopters. You have different type of flight. This is something that when we look at it, it's like, yeah, I don't know what he meant by Estee Lauder. Yeah, it definitely. And love does, yeah, it exists, but it's something that you have to feel. Something that, you know, like hatred. If you look at hatred, if somebody were to say, okay, well, if you can't define or explain love or prove it, can you prove or explain hatred? And it's like you look at it, you say, well, something that you dislike and all of that. And somebody could say, well, why do people get so mad that they do things that's irrational? So if they just dislike it, what's the reason to do that? And it's kind of hard to explain it. It's to say, okay, what is the reason? What is, like Dr. Blaylock is saying, that it could be something to do with blood sugar, or certain foods can alter the way you behave. This is a fact. You can get hyperactive. You can get anxious. Certain chemicals have been said to have these effects. So there's so many different things to explain the behavior of humans, of how we behave, and animals in general. To explain, like, look, this is what could be influence the behavior we see. Uncomfortability. You make somebody comfortable and you change their behavior. That's like a clear and cut science. And people see the change. Of course, there's always going to be outliers. There's going to be some small percentage that may not change as much. They still will be changed, whether they like it or not, because you're modifying the environment. You're saying, okay, comfortability in the environment, really, it's amazing. You look at that, we seek to be within a certain zone where we can function comfortably. Now, we can function in hot and cold climates with certain clothing or certain removal of clothing, right? Hot weather, you try to work with less clothing, shorts, or maybe just thinner clothing if you need the protection of the clothing from what you're working in, if it's on the land or something like that. Colder weather would be different. But the area where the person would sleep or something like that is usually like a protected area, usually something that can be a little more comfortable to allow the body to regenerate from the day's activities. What was this? Estee Lauder. So Estee Lauder is out of business. Even our food, yeah, the food policy, man, the fact that other people allow what they allow in is just crazy, man. It's just crazy. Divine Hazel, good to see you. Says, stay in God's zone, you'll be okay. Always a pleasure to see you here. Yeah, the spiritual, or like I said, this is why I say the conscious, non-corporeal, because it, again, it expands the definition, or what could be definition, to people that might look at it in a different way. Because you might have some people that aren't religious, or don't even like to call it spiritual, but they'll say, oh yeah, I can understand like the consciousness, the non-part, which they don't know what it is, to say, okay, now we at least we can make common ground together. This is what's important, because nobody is an island. But if we look into let's say what maybe some definitions of spiritual forces, or unseen entities, non-physical energies, this is, and that's a kind of an odd word, a non-physical energy. So energy generated by something maybe that's not physical, that can influence human health, material world. So it influences the material world. But we know that something like air is physical. Air has a physicality to it. It has a ratio of different gases, oxygen, nitrogen. It can be polluted with certain carbons. It can have, many different things in it. You can't see it. That's the craziest thing. And you look at it and you say, oh, wow. So there's things that seem like they might not, like somebody might misinterpret that. And it's like, no. That's, even though you can't see it and it's in between everything, it's physical. And then now, even like if we look at smoke is still physical. It's extremely small particulates that give off, the color comes from the lighting. So I think that's like the Rayleigh or the Tyndall effect of the scattering of light. The same thing that makes smoke looks like a grayish blue is the same effect that usually makes people's eyes look grayish blue. It's a type of reflection, not illusion, but sort of like a display. Like with blue eyes, there's no, it's no color blue there. There's a little bit of melanin that reflects back the blue light. And that's what you see. You see the blue a little more, you see the gray a little more, you see a little more of a different type, you see the green, because there are a few different types of melanin, eumelanin, pheomelanin, neuromelanin, and of course, stuff that we don't know about yet. But who runs, or what runs the world? Thinking about that is a question that maybe all of the distractions we see, maybe some of that is so we don't think in this direction, so we don't wonder about who's running the world, what could it be a what instead of a who? Could it be something that we, that's controlling humans to control other humans, which would make more sense. We see it, we see the humans controlling other humans straight out. And we know that it seems that something seems to be behind the scene of the top humans that it has administering. It's just totally, I don't know if illogical is the right word, but I mean, when you look at what's going on, like foreign aid and stuff, taking money from one country and giving it to another when the one country needs certain things, that right there is the problem. Now, if you have extra, that's a whole different thing. But what we see happening, it's illogical, it's unreasonable. It's saying, why would you do that? Corruption is one thing, but it's definitely seeing that there's something behind the scene. So the behind the scene thing. So we have that. We have the warfare. Maybe there's wars going on. Well, we see there's wars raging on in people's own heads. They fighting with their own thoughts. We see that. We see people, a type of spiritual warfare or religious warfare. We do see that straight out. We see academic warfare. We see many different types of warfare, many different types of things that aren't physical, that affect the physical world. a thought, when you think about what a thought is a thought in this physical world, and thoughts we know can affect us. So that's another example. To look for these certain examples that can be explained easily allows the ideas to be explained to others. Again, the communication, to say, okay, somebody sometimes can't take it in a whole form, and you have to deliver it to them in either a pieces or sometimes with something else that could makes it easier to understand or to lead somebody into it. Because there's certain things that I've researched that I think that if I didn't research stuff before that, I may not have, I may have shied away from it, especially with esoteric research, any type of conspiracy type of stuff. You have to look at it and think. You got to say, okay, why would I just openly believe this? Does it make sense? Does it, because some did come to be seen as a real thing. We saw the Watergate thing and other things like that. So we have that. And let me just see. I had some pictures up. Yeah, I remember one guy was trying to say something about, I think it was from Gnosis's stream, the origin of species and the preservation of favored races in a struggle for life. And it's just like, when you think about it, the fact that this bothered him so much that he brought it up on that stream, I think it's funny, but I think it's necessary to look at these things. The Descent of Man is even more of a horrific novel by Charles Darwin. But when somebody wakes up, usually they got the liquid on the face, like in the Matrix. They got the liquid on the face. They just came out the pod. Some of them would go back into it. We do see that. We definitely see that some would go back into the pod. But hey, this is why I say you can't wake anybody up. And waking somebody up like how Cypher was woken up and became dangerous. Also, there's people that wake up that other people didn't wake up, so they just woke up somehow on their own, and they're in that Cypher category. They're dangerous. It's saying, wait a second, this person, everybody that gets woken up is not going to be the same. We already see that some people get woken up to things in different parts of the spectrum, where the zombie spectrum will say, okay, somebody might be aware to school, but what section in school? History, science, math. They might say, well, the science of evolution is correct, but history is wrong. It's like, no, the science, evolution is not science. It's actually a belief system. Mathematics can show you how it's actually, mathematically almost equivalent to zero for certain things to develop by chance. So there's certain things that can disprove that, and some people could say, well, but history is inaccurate, and there are a lot of inaccuracies in history. But the thing is that there's also inaccuracies in politics, in religion, in medicine, in food. Like we see that certain foods are not allowed in other countries that they allow over here. And you look at that's a serious concern when you think about it. That's a serious concern, to think that certain foods is not sold or are not sold because of what they make perceived to be unhealthy, but it is sold here and promoted and advertised. And you look at people, you look at people eating some stuff here that's like really, really like the candy and like just certain things. You can see when they're eating it, you can see the crackhead behavior. It's drug, very similar to drug addiction type behavior, very similar. That's why I call them drug foods. There's some foods that are basically drug foods. I think the study came out saying Oreo cookies more addictive than cocaine or something like that. Let me see. Let me check it again. Are Oreo cookies more addictive See, and that's it's something that it doesn't start helping me with this, but it says a 2013 study. I remember one from '06 though that spoke about that had this one says in 2013 there was something conducted in Connecticut at a college, and it found in laboratory rats Oreo cookies were as addictive as cocaine and morphine, with evidence suggesting they may even be more stimulating to the brain's pleasure. Oh, those are just wow. Oreo, who makes Oreo? Keebler or something? I forgot. Dag. So Oreo is straight slinging rocks. And the sugar drug, it makes you wonder why the main crops that were planted throughout the Caribbean were sugarcane. That was the drug to keep people enslaved with their palate. Because if you're getting enslaved with your palate, you start to, that's a part of slavery. People don't realize that. Edible slavery. And when you look at the Southern Africa thing, they outlawed, I think, in one part where they couldn't grow their own food, because now if they can grow their own food, they don't want to work for you. So that's another thing too. It has a twofold. Healthy food keeps you healthy to where you don't need anything from anybody else, and also you don't have to work for them because you have what you need. If you have shelter, food, shelter, and clothing, that's what you need to live. But the other thing is that lets us see that there's some bullies that are telling us, no, that's not enough. You have to pay us to live. And I understand with certain technologies and stuff like that, you start to say, okay, I can see that, with the pipe, with the structure, the infrastructure, the electricity, the pipe water, the sewage systems, the grid, basically, which of course people want to get off the grid. You can get off to a certain extent, but you're not escaping the machine that easy. It's kind of like maybe with some ex machina type of thing, but even there, you need some type of thing that generates the power. Actually, that was a pretty good movie because it did show a direction which it seems that we're going in. And what was it? The AI outsmarted the human, left them in a glass tomb, and just flew away as if that movie is a movie that really, really needs to be looked into. I need to look into doing something with that to see what's up with Ex Machina. Ex Machina, and again, it comes from playing on the insecurity, on the thirst, on the desperation of that guy that thought he won the contest because of his skill, but when eventually he gets there, the guy's like, yeah, he was already chosen. They, had been watching him. And usually that's how things work in society. We fall into the sense of thinking society is fine just the way it is. One guy said, school is the advertisement that makes you think society, makes you want society just the way it is. You don't want to change it. It's no reason to. And we see people with that frame of thought. What could be wrong? Everything's fine. As long as their political candidate gets into office, everything's fine. Even in the middle of chaos, they will say everything is fine because they have ceased to think for themselves anymore. That day is past. I mean, it's funny because when I look at the whole situation from afar, it starts to become a little more clear on how things are like being controlled from like invisible forces, from suggestions, psychological influences that have people thinking that they're making their own decisions. That's the amazing thing, when you have somebody thinking they're making their decision when it's already been pre-programmed, it's coerced. But as far as the Oreo study. They're talking about the researchers measured expressions in certain proteins in that has like markers for the neuron activation in the pleasure center of the brain. And then it's known as the nucleus accumbens. And the scientists found that the Oreos activated significantly more neurons than injections of cocaine or morphine. Now that is, this is off the handle. They're talking about that Oreo cookies get you more high and they're more addictive than mainlining hard drugs. The behavioral response, the maze, rats formed this equally strong association with placing with the Oreo. This is just, this is, so with the place where the Oreos, so the Oreos again proved in other experiments to be more sought out than the cocaine or morphine. The creamy center effect, they did a study on that, and the rats did tend to eat the creamy center first. That's like that's the main, that's that's the good part, the higher quality of the drug, from what I would say. And of course, the chocolate cookies that it's sandwich it, that's another type of drug all in itself, basically, according to some people, in my opinion. The context shows how the study was designed to investigate the addictiveness of high fat sugar, foods and stuff like that, and how it could be contributing to obesity epidemics rather than equate the social destruction of drugs with cookies. The fact that the cookies are more addictive, that the research is showing it's more addictive than hard drugs, and it's like not a big thing. I mean, that's a signature right there. That's saying, hey, what is going on in society? This doesn't make sense. They say, again, foods are banned in other countries. I wonder if Oreos might be on that list. Animal versus human studies, right? In the, say this is important caveats, which does not always directly translate to human behavior. And that's true. That's true. But what do we see? We do see some type of very addictive behavior that suggests people are addictive when they constantly seek out these foods to eat them. And it shows that it seems that there's something behind the scenes. What really is running the world? What is pushing this technological machine that we are riding in going forward? That is the question, But yeah, I just figured it'd be a quick stream. Friday nights are usually kind of slow. So if anything, tomorrow night, it's still before midnight, so that's cool. Tomorrow night, probably. I wanted to do the civil thing, but I got to do some research. I remember Alexis had asked me about that. But I'll think it might be. I do want to talk about some of the stuff that is going on. But I'll orchestrate something. It's Saturday too, so it'll be good. You guys take care. Have a great night. We'll talk tomorrow.